All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm John Willson. I'm SOAR's Executive Director. Adventure is out there and it's waiting, and we have some terrific opportunities. Now, I'm going to tell you just a quick little history of the Gap Year program. It started because parents asked us to do it. In fact, they were using the Academy as a 13th year or a gap year. And we simply looked around and there wasn't anything that was quite like us out there in order to provide the service. So we designed a program collecting feedback from families, collecting feedback from educational consultants, and stitched together a pretty remarkable program. SOAR started in 1977, and we've been answering the call that parents have asked of us for many, many years. In 2014, we launched this gap year program. And then this year, for the first time, we're actually going to have a program out in Wyoming and a program here in North Carolina. And so we're really, really kind of excited about that. We are, in fact, one of the largest adventure-based programs in the world that serves this population of kids. And we're one of only two gap year programs that are specifically focused on young men and women diagnosed with learning or attention challenges. And we're also one of the only gap year programs that are 9 months long instead of, only 6 or 8 weeks. And the reason for that is that we've discovered that, at least in our program in Wyoming, that, there is a benefit to having that longevity. So the program serves young adults with learning and attention challenges, ages 18 to 24, that have graduated from high school or have a GED and are looking for that next sort of what's next opportunity. Now, I'll tell you what a gap year is. It's an opportunity designed to empower and prepare these individuals for the next step in their lives, whether they're going to go to college or re-enter college. We've had kids that have struggled their first year of college and taken a gap year and kind of reset and decide what to do next, or if they're going to enter the workforce or the military. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that all of our participants have gone on to do the thing that they wanted to do next. I'll tell you what a gap year isn't. A gap year is not an opportunity to just sort of loaf and spend a year doing nothing. This is a very focused year on developing and nurturing the life skills necessary to tackle life. What I like to say is that by the end of the year, you're going to understand what is the best version of yourself and what are the things that you can do to help nurture that best version of yourself. And those are going to include a variety of really important skills. All right. So why SOAR? We have a low staff to participant ratio. We utilize something called life success attributes, and the program is really centered and designed around meeting and nurturing these attributes that help kids have a better than average chance of having success in life. And those include things like becoming self-aware of both your strengths, but also your challenge. And then how do we utilize and capitalize on those strengths that allow us to embark on this journey and find a goodness of fit in whatever that we're going to do next. Emotional coping skills, problem-solving skills, ability to persevere, learning how to use our support networks and establish friendships, learning how to communicate and self-advocate in ways that allow us to understand how we can create environments that are going to set us up for success, but also what are the opportunities that are going to allow us to be the best version of ourselves. One of the other things that both of our gap year programs will do is they create a community and a sense of belonging and an exploration that teaches young men and women how to consume information, how to get along with a group of people, how to do laundry, how to plan meals, how to create a budget, how to write a resume, how to pursue the things in life that are going to allow us to be successful. And then, certainly I want to tell you how our gap years are structured. We will have 2 locations, one in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, and the other one is in Du Bois, Wyoming. The program essentially works in an interesting way. Both in the West and the East, the programs will be on campus for 2 weeks. planning, doing cooking, creating budgets, learning important life skills, participating in activities. Both programs will have a small college component to them. And then they'll go off on these 2-week adventures that they helped plan and plan the activities for. And, adventures in Wyoming include an international trip. They include, canoe camping in the Southwest. And so they visit some extraordinary locations. In North Carolina, the expeditions will be more focused on the Southeast with a trip out to California rather than an international trip to kind of experience that part of the world. The opportunities in North Carolina will be to get some certifications, like a lifeguard certification or a first aid or wilderness first aid certification, and certainly work towards being able to potentially work at a summer camp someplace, perhaps even, here at SOAR. In Wyoming, the volunteer opportunities include the Boys and Girls Club. They include working in an assisted living facility or volunteering, or the fish hatchery, or the museum there. And we recognize that having a commitment to service learning is an important part of helping develop individuals and the whole person. And so will be a big break in December through January, about 2 to 3 weeks. And then there's a spring break in March or April, where the participants will head home. And those breaks are really important, because what they create and allow for is an opportunity for these young men and women to utilize some of the skills that they've been practicing and nurturing while they've been with us and back in the home environment, and sort of test out where some of the challenge areas still might be. When we find ourselves back in old environments, that tends to breed old behaviors. And when they come home, we have these parent workshops available to you over the course of the year, learning how to best support your gapper as they're transitioning from adolescence into young adulthood, and then working together to try and accentuate all of those things that are critically important. All of the GAP participants, whether East or West, will come home with a transition plan where a great deal of thought will have gone into what are their short-term goals and objectives, and then what are the systematic steps and ways that they're going to get there. Because, as you well know, one of the challenges that our kids face is they just sometimes don't know what's next. And helping them kind of explore that and create those opportunities is a unique ability that SOAR has to help these folks create those plans. So how's it structured? Well, when they arrive, there's no technology for the first week or two. And one of the reasons for that, even though that's one of their least favorite things, is it allows them to fully invest in who they are, what they're doing, and the community that they're going to be a part of. And then based on the levels that you attain, privileges are made available that are consistent with privileges that adults have. We use a role system, and it's the same role system that we've been using within our younger communities. There's a Yoda, there's a Captain Planet. And one of the new fun things that we're going to be doing next year is that we're actually going to create smaller food groups, so that, when they're cooking in the field, they're only cooking for, 3, 4, 5 people versus cooking for 10, so that skill can transfer more effectively to whatever environment they're going to find next. The tuition is $56,000, and it is comprehensive and includes everything except the student spending money. And there is an established amount for that you arrange with your gapper. That amount covers all of the travel, all of the expeditions. There are no hidden extra costs. And in Wyoming, certainly, you're committing to the full year. Okay, so how do you apply? And if you're interested in learning more, I thank all of you for attending. But you make an application online, and we'll review the application. We'll do a Zoom interview. One of the really important things is that the participants have to want to be here. There has to be a level of investment because these are adults, and adults can say, I don't want to do this anymore, and they're not going to be held against their will. And so there has to be a level of investment from the gapper to the program. And so we'll contact references if it's appropriate to have to come out and do a visit. We'll try and make that work, and then we'll send a decision via email as to their acceptance. If once the program fills, we'll have what we call a waiting pool, and then once we determine if we've got spots available, we'll choose the best candidates from the waiting pool to become part of the program. One of the questions that we typically ask gappers is, what are your strengths? What are your abilities? What do you bring into the program? And I can tell you also, and this is a really important thing to note and understand, that I in fact I'm going out again this year to end to the family weekend of the gap year program, and I asked the question, are you glad you did this? And make no mistake, it's going to be a hard year. I mean, growth is hard, and it requires investment and time and energy. But to a person, they have all said, I've grown so much. And even though it was hard, I'm so glad that I did this, because I've developed some really important skills and learned some critical things that are going to help me be successful. And so, that's as great a reference as I can possibly give, that young folks who've been through it recognize the life-changing opportunity this creates for them. And it really is a unique opportunity that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Here's some really interesting information. One of the reasons that gap years are on the rise is that studies at University of North Carolina and other colleges have found that individuals who take a gap year outperform students who do not. Now, that's really fascinating. But one of the things that really blow me away is that whether you're a male or a female, if you've taken a gap year, typically you will outperform freshman females, who vastly outperform freshman males. Colleges like Harvard, when you open up the acceptance letter, it says, "Welcome to Harvard. Have you considered a gap year?" 90% of students who take a gap year return to college the next year because they figured out exactly who they are and the kinds of things that they want to do. All right, now, so here are some advantages of a gap year. It's going to give kids an opportunity to clarify their career interests and goals, develop organizational skills, renew a passion, a little break from intense academia, and kind of renew that passion, become more mature and self-confident. They'll discover some interests that they didn't know that they had. They'll learn more about, their own culture and other cultures. And employers seek grads that have practical experience, and gap years create a practical experience. I will also tell you this. I am a strong believer that most kids really would benefit from a gap year program, not just kids with learning disabilities, but especially kids for learning disabilities. And here's why. Our kids tend to be impulsive and reactive. They're easily distracted. Sometimes they're up to a third chronologically less mature than their peers, and they're disorganized. And a gap year helps mitigate some of that. It's an extra year of seasoning before they jump into what life is going to bring them. They're learning coping mechanisms to deal with, some of the reactivity and the distraction, and the way that they become organized. And those skills that we teach young men and women will absolutely set them up for success and last them a lifetime. And here are some things that we can provide. Your son or daughter will be more self-aware upon the conclusion of the program. There certainly will have some confidence, a strong sense of personal responsibility, heightened sense of resilience, an increased level of maturity, a better understanding of what is important to them, and again, as I mentioned, that transition plan as they move forward. All right, so one of the reasons you're watching this is a gap right for my kid, and so would your kid thrive under these conditions? It's structured, it's adventurous, it's goal-oriented, it's well planned, and then there's an eye towards what's next. Now, if this opportunity is exactly what you're looking for, this is how we designed it in a very specific way. All right. And so for kids that are college bound, you know, uh, are one of the nice things about the gap year program is it can help resolve academic burnout, because again, the coursework that we're taking is much softer and kinder and gentler. We can ignite curiosity, certainly explore lots of wonderful possibilities. I've already mentioned a couple of times gaining clarity about what's important to me as a person, the things that I'm interested in. And then when I leave the gap year, if I'm planning to go back to college, I'm going back to college with a purpose. All right. Now, for those kids who are life bound and not college bound, you know, the gap year does a couple things. There's a cultural understanding. It stretches individuals. You know, that values clarification piece that I've been talking about leads to coping skills, which lead to an ability to solve problems, which lead to an ability to communicate more effectively. You know, and then because you're solving problems and are part of that plan, it increases your sense of ownership. And then all of that results in sort of that maturity that I've been talking about, because we are stretching these young people. We are helping them identify what matters to them and what makes them the best version of themselves, and how do they problem solve. You know, ultimately on some of the expeditions, and I'm going to talk about that, this whole travel piece, you know, and then there's these internships and volunteerships and specialty classes, and you know, and all the things that kind of go into what we do, create and allow for the individuals to have these extraordinary experiences. And the goal of our program is that by the time we get to the last expedition, right, that by the time we get to the last expedition here, the mentors are carrying the first aid kit and driving the van, and the gappers are doing all of the planning, all of the preparation, all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of the program design, holding themselves and each other accountable. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment, because that accountability piece comes from evening conversations where, you know, you're asked to reflect on the day, review what occurred, and then hold yourself accountable if you made any mistakes. And then that group meeting after dinner is one where you can ask others to hold themselves accountable, or share something that caused you frustration and that you would like to problem solve how to find a healthy solution for. It is one of the most powerful things that we do, that daily and intensive interactive conversation that allows our participants to own the experience that they're having, own their feelings, and then look for solutions as how they can interact with or the expectations they can create from other people, and seeking those commitments. All right. So our programs, you know, they're focused on life skills, expeditions, you know, some of the college coursework, and then the volunteerism and the community involvement that we're creating. All right. So then there's day-to-day life skills, you know, and every single day we're getting a chance to practice important executive function skills, organization, time management. And let me say, my son is in college now, and when we went and checked it out, we asked student after student after student what was the most important thing that they needed to know before going to college, and every one of them answered time management. You know, and time management, certainly, I bet you, is one of the things that your son or daughter struggle with. Personal maintenance, another one of those things that some of our kids struggle with, and taking ownership of that personal maintenance, and whether that's hygiene or eating the right food or getting the right exercise, or quite frankly, how much time I spend on social media or involved, on distractions, computer distractions. And then how do I control that in a way that allows me, again, to be the best version of myself, versus at what point does that become a detriment? At what point does that become something that is healthy and positive in my life? Okay. And so, talking about some of those, again, how do I manage screen time, cooking and nutrition, budget management, personal hygiene, all critical components. And then, here are some of the ways that the routes, the expeditions create health for us. Sorry about that. the students are involved in the route planning. They do the food buys. They're going to create the menus. They're going to purchase the food. They're going to do the budgets for the food. Teamwork. How do we coordinate with each other in ways that are healthy and allow us to participate fully with each other? What are some of the, making of the reservations and getting fee waivers and making sure that things are open and contacting, park rangers or other activity locations. We will visit colleges during the course of time, and we'll get a chance to do some university visits, which allow us, the group to get a sense of what kind of services are available, what's out there for people, and that's a terrific opportunity. And then the activities, they're given a budget, they're allowed to create work within the budget that they have for each of the expeditions, and the result of that is the goal is that there is growth, there's increased self-awareness, they've had a chance to problem solve, and that they create a direction and a plan. And it's a really interesting and focused way that we meet needs. So that is the program in a nutshell. We're happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
That's great, John. Thank you. This is Dan speaking. Morgan is doing her junior year in high school remotely through the Commonwealth Charter Academy in Pennsylvania, and it's working really well. But I think that the activity that you guys described may be a good fit. I'm going to let her see the recorded version of this, and I appreciate the presentation today. So I don't have a question, just my only comment was that the time that she spent with you guys down in the Dry Tortugas was just really changed her quite a bit, and in a good way. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Dan. I appreciate the comment, and I hope she does enjoy the presentation, because it is important to note that this program is ultimately designed to be an empowering experience, and it is the goal that the gappers are the ones who are driving the process. One of the things I didn't mention is that every few weeks, the gappers and whoever their defined mentor is will go over how am I doing, and there's a self-evaluation piece as well as the mentor evaluation, which determines if they make it to the next level, and different levels allow for different opportunities within the program, and so for some those levels are really very motivating. For others, they're satisfied where they are, they just want to fine-tune and tweak the skills and abilities that they're working towards. And so but the program is designed in a really thoughtful, growth focused way that allows for this 8-month period to be this thing that creates this substantial change in kids. I have to tell you that the older these young folks get, the more difficult it is to create change, lasting change in their life. And this program does that. It does that because fundamentally you're being stretched, you're being given an opportunity to fully empower and understand who you are and what your strengths are and the way that you want to interface with the world. And you're creating memories that you're never going to have a chance to have again. And we've really tried to keep it in line with what a liberal arts college first year might cost, so that so that there really isn't a dramatic cost increase. What you'll find, honestly, is that young men and women that do a gap year like this often finish in 4 years versus going for that 5th and 6th year. And so but I this program, it's something I'm particularly proud of. And and it's a very special opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm certainly, I hope, and we'll follow up with each of you and see if you'd like to have a follow-up call. Um, uh, and certainly would encourage each of you to take a good, strong look at the program. I appreciate all of you staying online for the entire presentation. I'm going to remind you of a couple of things. I host on our SOAR website. If you look under webinars, you'll find a variety of webinars that we host that have wonderful information that is available to you on a variety of topics. And then we also have a newsletter that we can send out, and you can check us out on Facebook as well. But if there are no more questions, thank you all for your time.